Hello students, today we will be discussing about the subject international trade and the highlights of the foreign trade policy 2015-20. We've discussed the topic in two parts. Today we'll be discussing the part 1 of the foreign trade policy. So the topics which will be discussed in this foreign trade policy, the first one we'll be discussing about the simplification and merger of reward schemes. Second, boost to make in India. And the third, the very new trade policy, the proposed one, remission of duties and taxes on exported products to boost export scheme. So let us discuss this one by one. See, when we will be discussing about simplification and merger of reward schemes, we'll be discussing about first the export from India schemes. So export from India schemes, we'll be discussing under 5 points. The first one, merchandise export from India scheme. Second, service exports from India scheme. Chapter 3, incentives to be available for the special economic zones. Fourth, duty credit scripts to be freely transferable and usable for payment of custom duty, excise duty and service tax. And fifthly, we'll be discussing about the status holders. So first, let us discuss about MEIS, Merchandise Exports from India scheme. So basically, MEIS was introduced in the foreign trade policy for the period 2015-20. This we know. The MEIS was launched as an incentive scheme for the export of goods. The rewards are given by way of duty credit scripts to exporters. The MEIS is notified by the DGFT, Directorate General of Foreign Trade. By whom? It is notified by the DGFT, Directorate General of Foreign Trade, and implemented by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So remember, it is notified by DGFT and implemented by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So earlier there were 5 different schemes, as you can see over here. The first one, focus product scheme. The second, market linked focus product scheme. The third, focus market scheme. Fourth, agricultural infrastructure incentive script. The fifth, PKJUY, Vishesh Krishi and Gram Udyog Yojana, for rewarding merchandise exports with different kinds of duty scripts with varying conditions. Sector specific or actual user only attached to the use. Now what is important, earlier there were these 5 schemes. Now all these schemes have been merged into one single scheme. So pay attention, all these 5 schemes earlier which were running have been merged together into one scheme, that is merchandise export from India scheme, MEIS, and there would be no conditionality attached to the scripts issued under the scheme. So all these 5 together make MEIS. Now, under the foreign trade policy, MEIS intends to do what? It intends to incentivize exports of goods manufactured in India or produced in India. The incentives are for goods widely exported from India, industries producing or manufacturing such goods with a view to making Indian exports competitive. MEIS covers goods notified for the purpose of the scheme. Now, the incentives which are given to the exporters under the schemes are calculated as a percentage, which is 2%, 3%, or 5% of the realized FOB, free on board value exports. So what are these incentives? These incentives vary between 2 to 5. It may be 2%, 3%, or 5% of the realized FOB value exports in free foreign exchange, or FOB value of exports as per shipping bills in free foreign exchange. The incentives are allotted through a MEIS duty credit script. Next, we come to the topic goods which are notified under MEIS. Now, what are the goods, the commodities which are notified under MEIS? So, MEIS incentivizes close to 5,000 items classified and notified under various ITC-HS codes, that is Indian Trade Clarification Harmonized System, and with corresponding reward rates ranging from 2 to 5%. And these items are notified by the DGFT, Directorate General of Foreign Trade. Now, there's also a scheme of giving higher rewards have been granted for the various category of products. Now, we'll be studying about the category of products for which the higher rewards are granted. The first one is agricultural and village industry products, which are presently covered under VKGUY. The second one, value-added and packaged products. The third, eco-friendly and green products that create wealth out of waste from agricultural and other waste products that generate additional income for the farmers while improving the environment. The fourth, labor-intensive products with large employment potential and products with large number of producers or exporters. Then, industrial products from potential winning sectors. Last, high-tech products with high export earning potential. So these are the products for which the higher rewards have been granted. Next, there are certain sectors which are ineligible for the benefits under MEIS. So the sectors or segments which are not entitled to MEIS incentives are: first one, SEZ, that is Special Economic Zone; EOU, that is Export Oriented Unit; then EHTP, Electronic Hardware Technology Park; FTWZ, Free Trade and Warehousing Zones. So all products related to this exported through DTA, that is Domestic Tariff Area Units. Second, supplies made to the Special Economic Zone units from the Domestic Tariff Area Units. Third, the third segment of the sector which is not entitled for the benefit is deemed exports. Now you must be asking, what is deemed exports? So deemed exports refers to what? Those are those transactions which goods supplied do not leave the country and the payment for such supplies is received in Indian rupees or in foreign exchange. Now I explain this with an example. Like for example, there's a dealer who is located in Rajasthan. He sells goods to dealer B, who is an EOU, who is an export-oriented unit. So there is A and B. A dealer located in Rajasthan, and B is a dealer who is an export-oriented unit. Now B in turn, now A sells goods to B. B in turn sells the goods to a customer C in Germany. Customer C is there, who is in Germany, and B sells the goods to C. Supply by A to B is treated as deemed exports, and supply by B to C is treated as exports. So what is deemed export? It is those transactions in which goods supplied do not leave the country and the payment for such supplies is received in Indian rupees or in foreign exchange. Fourth one, export commodities which are subject to a minimum export duty or export price. Then fifth one, export via transshipment. Now export via transshipment means what? Thereby exports that are emerging in the third country but transshipped to India. Last, exports initiated by units in free trade and warehousing zones, that is FTWZ. So these are the sectors which are ineligible for the benefits under MEIS. Now next, we come to the next scheme. We've already discussed about the MEIS. Now we'll be discussing about the Service Exports from India scheme, SEIS. Now, Government of India has introduced the Service Exports from India scheme under the Foreign Trade Policy 2015-20. Now, most important point, it has replaced the earlier scheme Served from India scheme under Foreign Trade Policy 2009-15. That means what? Now it has been termed as Service Export from India scheme, and it has been replaced. It has replaced which scheme? The earlier scheme was Served from India scheme. Now, the main objective, what is the main objective of the scheme? The objective of the scheme is to make our services globally competitive in terms of price. Under SEIS, the service providers of notified services are generally incentivized in form of duty credit scripts at the rate of 3 or 5% on the net foreign exchange earnings. The SEIS scripts are transferable and can be used for payment of for a number of central duties, taxes, including the basic customs duty. Now, already we have studied Serve from India scheme. SFIS has been replaced with Service Exports from India scheme SEIS. SEIS shall apply to service providers located in India instead of Indian service providers. This SEIS provides for rewards to all service providers of notified services who are providing services from India, regardless of the constitution or profile of the service provider. Now, such service provider shall have minimum net free exchange. Now we'll be discussing about the eligibility. Such service provider should have minimum net free foreign exchange earnings of 15,000 US dollars in year of rendering service to be eligible for duty credit script. For individual service providers and sole proprietorship, such minimum net free foreign exchange earning criteria would be 10,000 US dollars in the year of rendering service. Payment in Indian rupees for service charges earned on specified services shall be treated as receipt in deemed foreign exchange as per guidelines of Reserve Bank of India. Now we come to what are the ineligible categories under SEIS. Foreign exchange remittances other than those earned for rendering of notified services would not be counted for entitlement, the first one. Thus, the other sources of foreign exchange earnings such as equity or debt participation, donations, receipts of repayment of loans, and any other inflow of foreign exchange unrelated to rendering of service would be ineligible. We come to the third one. We are discussing about the export schemes, the third one. Third, the chapter 3 incentives, MEIS and SEIS. Whatever incentives are there under both the schemes will be available for SEZ, that is special economic zones. We come to the fourth scheme. What is this? Duty credit scripts to be freely transferable and usable for payment of custom duty, excise duty, and service tax. This means all scripts issued under MEIS and SEIS and the goods imported against these scripts would be fully transferable. Scripts issued under exports from India schemes can be used for the following. So we'll be discussing about these scripts which are issued under exports from India schemes can be used for which of the following. So these are the three things for which it can be used. First one, payment of custom duty for import of inputs or goods including capital goods except certain items. Second, payment of excise duty on domestic procurement of inputs or goods including capital goods as per DOR, Department of Revenue notification. Third, payment of service tax on procurement of services as per DOR notification, that is Department of Revenue notification. Now, basic customs duty paid in cash or through debit under duty credit script can be taken back as duty drawback as per DOR rules if inputs so imported are used for exports. We come to the fifth one, that is status holders. Now before discussing about status holders, let us understand who are the status holders. Status holders are business leaders who have excelled in international trade and have successfully contributed to countries' foreign trade. Status holders are expected to not only contribute towards India's exports but also provide guidance and handholding to new entrepreneurs. Now, all exporters of goods, services, and technology having import export code number shall be eligible for recognition as a status holder. Status recognition will depend on export performance. An applicant shall be recognized or categorized as status holder on achieving export performance during the current and previous 3 financial years. For gems and jewelry sector, the performance during the current and previous 2 financial years shall be considered for recognition as status holder. The export performance will be counted on the basis of FOB of export earning in freely convertible foreign currencies. Now they have made the status category as 1-star export house, 2-star export house, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star export house based on the export performance, which is on the basis of FOB, that is free on board, as converted value in US million dollars during current and the previous years. So it depends upon, like, one-star export house up to $3 million, it is one-star export house. Up to $25 million, it is two-star export house. And there are different range for the three-star, four-star, and five-star. Now, approved exporter scheme, self-certification by status holders. Now, manufacturers who are also status holders will be enabled to self-certify their manufactured goods as originating from India with a view to qualify for preferential treatment under different preferential trading agreements, free trade agreements, comprehensive economic cooperation agreement, and comprehensive economic partnership agreements which are in operation. They shall be permitted to self-certify the goods as manufactured as per the Industrial Entrepreneur Memorandum, Industrial License, or Letter of Intent. We have finished the first one, that is A, export under India schemes. We come to the second one, that is boost to make in India. The second topic which we'll be discussing is boost to make in India. Now, what is this? There are two points or two schemes which will be discussed under boost to make in India. First is reduced export obligation for domestic procurement under EPCG scheme, that is export promotion capital goods scheme. A specific export obligation under export promotion capital goods scheme in case capital goods are procured from indigenous manufacturers, which is currently 90% of the normal export obligation, that is 6 times that the duty saved amount has been reduced to 75% in order to promote domestic capital goods manufacturing industry. So 90 to 75%. The next, higher level of rewards under MEIS for export items with high domestic content and value addition. It is proposed to give higher level of rewards to products with high domestic content and value addition as compared to products with high import content and less value addition. Next, we come to a new topic, that is remission of duties and taxes on exported products. Boost export scheme for enhancing exports to international markets. Now, this is very important because this is a new thing which has come. Now, what is this? Cabinet approves scheme for remission of duties and taxes on exported products to boost export scheme for enhancing exports to international markets, to make India exports cost competitive and create a level playing field for exporters in the international market. The scheme is WTO compliant. It will reimburse taxes, duties, levies at the central, state, and local level which are currently not being refunded. Pay attention, which are not currently being refunded, to give a boost to employment generation in various sectors. Items will be shifted in a phased manner from existing scheme MEIS to the remission of duties and taxes on exported products with proper monitoring and audit mechanism. Committee on Economic Affairs, chaired by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, has given its approval for introducing the scheme for remission of duties and taxes on exported products, under which a mechanism would be created for reimbursement of taxes, duties, levies at the central, state, and local level, which are currently not being refunded under any other mechanism, but which are incurred in the process of manufacture and distribution of exported products. The scheme is going to give a boost to the domestic industry and Indian exports, providing a level playing field for Indian producers in the international market so that domestic taxes and duties are not exported. Under the scheme, an interministerial committee will determine the rates and items for which the reimbursement of taxes and duties will be provided. Now, this is in line with Digital India. Very, very important. This is a Digital India initiative. The refund under the scheme in form of transferable duty credit, electronic scrip will be issued to the exporters, which will be maintained in an electronic ledger. The scheme will be implemented with end-to-end digitization. So it is in line with Digital India. The refunds under the scheme would be a step towards zero rating of exports, along with refunds such as drawback and IGST. This would lead to competitiveness of exported products in international markets and better employment opportunities in export-oriented manufacturing industries. In line with the vision of Prime Minister, various export-oriented industries are being reformed and introduced better mechanisms so as to increase their productivity, boost exports, and contribute to overall economy. Now, these would be covered for reimbursement under the scheme. The sequence of introduction of the scheme across sectors, prioritization of the sectors to be covered, degree of benefit to be given on various items within the rates set by the committee will be decided and notified by the Department of Commerce. The rate would be claimed as a percentage of FOB rate on board value of exports. A monitoring and audit mechanism with an information technology based risk management system would be put in to physically verify the records of the exporters. As and when the rates under the scheme are announced for a tariff line on item, the merchandise exports from India scheme benefits on such tariff line item will be continued. So this was all for today. We'll be discussing the next